Hi, my name is Rebecca. I have narcolepsy and welcome to my channel, My Narcoleptic Life. Today I'm going to talk about how I eat a vegan diet and how that impacts my narcolepsy. Quick disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, so you should talk to a real one. If you have any concerns about yourself, I can only share my experiences as someone with narcolepsy, so you're welcome to ask me questions about yourself, but I cannot give medical advice. That's not what I do. With that being said, let's talk about being vegan. So this is, I guess, like a 4-part series. I did mention the other parts. I have a head cold, so that's why I sound like death right now, but I have some energy to film, so I'm filming. So the other 3 parts, I talk about the medication I take for my narcolepsy, some of the natural things I do for my narcolepsy, the intermittent fasting that helps with my narcolepsy. How many times can I say that in one sentence? And this one is going to be about how I also eat a vegan diet and how that impacts my narcolepsy. With that being said, I will be the first to tell you that narcolepsy is not the reason that I went vegan. The reason that I went vegan is to save the animals, to improve my health, and because it's cheap. That's it. Those are all my reasons. So I'm not going to get heavily into the ethical side of that because that's not the purpose of my video, but I will say there's a lot of ethical things that go with veganism that if you're considering it, I encourage you to look into. Even if you're not considering it, just become familiar with factory farming and some of the practices used. Even if you still consume animal products, that doesn't mean you can't be a voice for the animals. You can still, lobby for laws that help to save the animals or to at least give them better living conditions. Particularly birds in the United States, there's not a lot of laws protecting like turkey and chickens. I encourage you to push your Congress people or whoever's in charge of making those laws, because factory farming is some rough crap. It's not good. So even if you still partake in meat, though, you can still stand up for letting those animals have more ethical lives. So I'll get off of that soapbox, okay? However, I will say, even if being vegan didn't directly help my narcolepsy, I would still choose to be vegan because of the impact it has on the animals. So know that I'm a little bit biased when I talk about it. Now, the other reason that I went vegan was for my health, and I'm not referring to my narcolepsy. I'm completely just referring to like my physique and just how I felt, which I guess is like energy levels, so kind of related. There's some really good documentaries. I encourage you to watch about how being vegan can help reduce like cancer risks and like obesity risks, all that good stuff. Again, that's not the purpose of this video, so I'm gonna gloss over that a little bit. The third reason I went vegan was because I'm cheap. Animal products are expensive. And for me, being vegan is actually cheaper than eating meat. So why not save some money, you know? Because I'm cheap. But after going vegan, I realized it was impacting my narcolepsy in a huge way. And like it took a little bit for me to figure that out. Recently, my husband and I, he's not vegan. We got our lunches mixed up and I accidentally ate one of his lunches. I got super sick because I'm also allergic to dairy. And I ate like this pasta just filled with cheese. It was awful. And afterwards, like, it really helped me realize how much of an impact veganism had, because for like a day I sort of wasn't a vegan. Even though I didn't eat meat, I ate dairy products. Like, I felt miserable for like 2 days afterwards and my energy levels were crap. So it kind of reinforced that, like, yeah, this is helping. So in the intermittent fasting video, I talked about how I save all my carbs till the end of the day and I kind of eat like lighter foods for lunch and then like my coffee, of course, for breakfast. Being vegan helps so much. So for somebody with narcolepsy, and a lot of people with narcolepsy have shared this, eating any meal is a major trigger for a sleep attack. Like, a normal meal for me would be like if you ate a Thanksgiving dinner and then tried to run a marathon, okay? Like, you just want to lay down and nap, right? That's how it is every time I eat. And that's still true even though I'm vegan. However, being vegan helps lessen that. So I almost feel like, and again, I am not a medical professional, I feel like I'm digesting food a little bit faster, or it's like not sitting in my stomach, sort of, or like in my intestines, and that kind of helps to keep my energy levels up, because my energy is able to keep me awake instead of like working super hard to digest my food. I will say, it depends on what vegan food I eat. So there's vegan junk food. There's a common myth is that there's no such thing as like a fat vegan. You could be if you wanted to be, I guess. I know. There's a lot of like just processed garbage. That it is still vegan. I still eat it. Like, it's still good. But if I eat too much of that, like if I just have Beyond Burgers every day, I'm gonna be exhausted. That's too much processed food. So I also try and like keep to the fresh things. I eat a lot of beans and vegetables and fruits. Tofu. Seitan is not great for me. Seitan makes me sleepy, which is fine if that's what I'm eating at night, but it's not a good lunchtime food for me. Same thing with like tortillas and bread, which typically are vegan. Those make me really sleepy. Rice, potatoes. So I still had to learn my trigger foods, but I found that taking out animal products helped my energy levels almost immediately. Really positively impacted how I felt. So I think there's a lot of amazing reasons to go vegan. Narcolepsy isn't the reason that I initially went vegan, but it's definitely a contributing factor to why I stay vegan. And at this point, it's been like 4 or 5 years. It's been a while. So, yeah, I just think it helps. So if you try it, let me know. And I know this is controversial. Other people will tell you keto is the way to go. All people with narcolepsy should be keto. I disagree. And we're allowed to disagree, and that's okay. Other people have said, Mediterranean or paleo, or like, I know there's so many different ways of eating. Figure out what works for you, and figure out what your trigger foods are. Like for me, like potatoes. Potatoes are my trigger food. So it's like, that's in a lot of diets. Like a lot of diets allow you to eat potatoes. So that wasn't necessarily like this one like anti-potato diet was the solution, right? Like that was just one of my triggers. Other people have said that sugar triggers them, or like starchy things, like potatoes or corn, and then carb heavy, especially refined carbs like in bread. So do your own research. If you give it a try, let me know. If you are vegan, I would love to hear more about that. With that being said, as much as I want to fight for and like campaign for like veganism is just everyone should do it, intermittent fasting is probably a bigger day-to-day impact on my narcolepsy than veganism. And I made another video about that. So I gotta be honest, the veganism helps, but not as much as intermittent fasting. For me, it turns out that timing of my meals and avoidance of my triggers is more important. Now, some of my triggers include meat, dairy, and eggs, so that's vegan. So if your trigger is like red meat, stop eating red meat. But if you're fine with chicken and like you're ethically fine with that and that's cool for you, no judgment, you can still eat chicken, but maybe avoid red meat for your lunch. Maybe just eat it for dinner. So it's kind of about experimenting, maybe keeping a food journal, kind of just keeping an eye on like what makes you sleepy and what your energy levels are. So I hope that helped. I still haven't thought of a good outro, so bye. Thank you.